my name is Sam, and thanks for checking out this video. Make sure to hit the subscribe button down below, hit the little notification bell, and give the video a thumbs up or a thumbs down. So this week I actually managed to read 5 books, which I was really happy with because I had a lot going on at work. I actually got a lot of TV watching done at the same time too. I managed to watch the entire 5th season of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which hashtag we saved 99. Also, in case you don't watch my vlogs, this is a chance for me to show off my mug. My friend is the bestest person in the world. She sent me an Outlander mug for my birthday. It says, "Je suis prêt after coffee," which I am ready after coffee, which is so right. Alright, so the first book that I read this week was The Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. This is actually sort of a reread for me. I remember trying to read it about probably close to 2 years ago and not enjoying it at all. I got about the third-ish way mark and just gave up. That was very tropey. Wasn't loving any, it just didn't seem unique. I felt like I'd read it before and it was probably better before. So I gave it another shot because the covers are so pretty and I'm so annoyed that I don't like it when it has such pretty covers. This Warstorm just came out too, just like the 3rd or 4th book. So I figured I'd give it another shot. And I did. And I finished it this time. So The Red Queen is this pretty stereotypical YA fantasy where the girl is not a part of the chosen class who are differentiated in this world by blood. The kind of silver bloods are, the superior, athletic, they're royalty, they're monarchs, they have special powers. And this girl is red bloods, and the red bloods are being used by the silver bloods, as they always are in societies, to, fight a war, and her brothers are dying, and then all of a sudden there starts being essentially terrorist attacks by this group, and she gets thrown into this whole world, and they find out that she's this special chosen one in this realm where she is both red blood, but also has the powers of a silver blood, and there's a lot of betrayal, and all that kind of stuff. I will say, the ending betrayal was good. I was not prepared for that one, and I thought it was well done. However, the romance is so unnecessary. Of course, it uses the triangle romance, and the boys are brothers, naturally, and she's betrothed to one but has feelings for the others. It's, like I said, pretty stereotypical YA. I just don't see the point in the necessity of it. The main character is also extremely she's infuriatingly annoying. She's just, I just do not like her whatsoever. And I guess that's a common sentiment. So I don't know if it's going forward, the author knows that she's not liked and she's not trying to convince you to like her. Maybe she's a flawed main character, or if, she's a main character that will eventually grow on you. Because I know some people who didn't like Thera to begin with in the ACOTAR series, and she's grown on them now. So I don't know. I have to talk to people and find that out. However, I feel like there were some flaws in the messages of the actual book. My friend sent me along this PowerPoint that her friend who read it was she just did not like the message behind it, but it's a lot of the kind of when people were talking about or even right now with a lot of accusations right now of women accusing people of power abusing them or abusing their situation, and there's all these comments of well, it's not all men, and you're not getting the point. You're not addressing the issue. So there was a lot of those kind of I feel like there was just a lot of flawed messages that I didn't really like that was the stance, and I feel like the author was trying to say this is the right way to go. So I didn't totally love the message. So I'm going to talk to someone and see what they thought of the second book to see if it's a go. I do know a lot of people told me that the series steeply declines after the first book, but I mean so many people still read it, so I'm going to see if it's going to be worth a try. It's going to have to be when I'm in a mood for a kind of mind-numbing YA fantasy that I don't have to think a lot about, that I know, the patterns because it's been in every other book in the world. And yeah, so I think I ended up giving this a 2.5, maybe 3 out of 5 stars. And I think in the distant future, maybe I'll try the second book. I don't have high hopes for it though, so yeah. Then I did another reread this week, A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. I read this book originally about a year ago, probably a little bit over a year ago. I blew through it in one day as well. I read this book this time in a day too, and I think it was really heavily dependent on my mood. I remember reading it being that was cool. It's alright. I don't get the big hoopla of treating V.E. Schwab like a deity about it, but, it was fun. Maybe I'll read the second book. And I have the other 2 books in this trilogy. And honestly, 20 minutes later, I totally forgot about the book. Couldn't remember any of the main characters. You might have noticed that when I was doing my TBR video for last month. I remembered one of the characters' names. So it was definitely my mood because I reread this book and I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. I freaking loved this book. So it is set in this world where there are kind of like parallel universes, essentially. There's a black London, a white London, a gray London, and a red London. And I think it's the black one that has... Black one, I think, is the one that essentially like killed itself, like ate itself up using magic. But each of them have like different levels and types of magic and different societies and like political stuff. One of them has like this super dictatory kind of sketchy situation, and then there's one with basically no magic where they used to have magic, but the doors to all these Londons have been closed from each other, so it was kind of cut off. And then there's the one that our main character, Kel, yes, Kel, K-E-L-L. Kel lives in, but he actually is one of the very few people, I think it's just 2 people in the book at least, that can travel from all of these worlds. He has the ability to travel. So he travels a lot of the times between the monarchs, passing along messages, and just to kind of keep each other updated. But while he's doing that professionally, he likes to take little trinkets along the way and kind of trade them between worlds. So he's not really supposed to do that, but, you know, he does it. And he gets tricked into taking something back that he shouldn't have. And it opens up this entire whole system. And he meets this girl, Delilah, along the way. And I love Delilah. She's had a hard upbringing. She's kind of an orphan. She's a pickpocketer, you know, and she runs into Kel because she pickpockets him and takes that thing that shouldn't have been in this world. And things just go haywire from there. I'm really, really excited to read the second book in this series. This is definitely my favorite book by B.E. Schwab that I've read so far. I've read this Savage Song and Our Dark Duet, which I enjoyed them. I'm probably going to reread them every once in a while because I like the music and the darkness of them and the characters. But this one, I really loved the world. And I did get the sense it's just like kind of the tip of the iceberg. Like she hasn't really like delved into it. And I know that I'm probably right because the other books are like triple the size of this one. So I'm really excited to read the second one's, I think, A Gathering of Shadows, I want to say. And now I'm debating buying, the book outlet the book outlet store has the, like, special edition, like, with the black cover. So I kind of want to buy that one now, because I really, really loved this book. I also kind of want to buy the UK covers now, because the UK covers are really nice, too. Then, the day after I finally got my copy of it, I read A Court of Frost and Starlight by Sarah J. Maas. This is the novella in the ACOTAR series after A Court of Wings and Ruin, and then whenever the 4th book comes out, which is alternate POVs, because the first 3 books are Feyre, and then this is kind of a couple different, there's like 5 or 6 different POVs in here, and then the other books, we don't know whose POVs they're going to be for. We don't know the titles. I don't even think we know the dates yet, so I don't know whenever that's going to happen, but I read this book, and I know a lot of people were trashing it. It's been marketed as a novella for well over a year. If you didn't know that and got it and were upset that it's small, I don't know what to do with you. That's not a valid reason to dislike the book because it was small. It's a novella, and we were told it was a novella. Second thing, I heard a lot of criticisms of, like, it being sexist, which I don't understand because no one forces Feyre to do anything in this book. A woman can want to work from home if it's her choice, not her spouse that is male saying, you have to be working from home because you're the woman. I don't ever recollect that ever being said to her, so I don't understand where that sexism point of view. If it's her choice, it's her choice. Oh, people upset that there's really no plot to it. It was a novella that we all have been begging for just Feyre and Rhys cheesiness. Of course, that is the entire point of this book. It's to hold us over until the next book, and I'm sure when I want to reread this one after the next book comes out, number 4, because she always leaves little, like, tidbits in the rest of or books before, and I'm so curious to see if there's going to be things in here that we don't know how good of a bridge of information it is because we don't know what the other end of the bridge is yet. So I don't care. I love this book so much. I think I ended up giving it like a 4.5 out of 5 stars. There were some points where I was just like, oh, this is fun, cute. It's kind of like it could have been edited out, as well as the fact that I wanted it to be longer. I'm not going to hate the book for it, but I loved all the like in the first 3 books, all we get is these characters in this world, just chaos. It's perpetual chaos, and you never really get to see them doing anything normal. And I really thought this was interesting. This book really heavily talks about coping. There's a lot of chaos, like especially the town, village, whatever we're going to call it, was destroyed in A Court of Wings and Ruin because of information that was leaked out in good faith. And the town, city / village thing is absolutely destroyed, and they have to come back and pick up the pieces. We don't ever really think about that part in a lot of these books that have, like, villages and capitals destroyed and everything like that. It's just like, we stopped talking about World War II once it ended, and you're like, what about the whole, like, after they had to rebuild all those cities? Like, lots of stuff had to happen. And I just found it really interesting that Feyre was, I was actually really excited that she seemed a little bit more settled than the first 3 books, and like with herself, and she's trying to help her sisters, which would make sense why she's home more often than out doing whatever with Rhys. And, you know, just getting to know the city that she's never really lived in before, but she's supposed to be able to help pick up the pieces. She doesn't know these people or these places. She needs to get to know them, and she's got to learn to deal with things. This is a whole new thing that she's taken on as Lady of the Night Court, which has never been done before, and she has to try and keep Rhys, like he's someone who just kind of goes off and will work himself to death. And, you know, making sure that he eats meals. I know people that are like that you're like, you haven't eaten in 3 days. Like, keep your attention. They just put things to the back burner because they're so passionate about other things. And I just loved getting to see all these different characters. We got all of our, like, kind of fave crew, and, like, just seeing how they're trying to settle in after every chaos thing that happened in A Court of Wings and Ruin. And I just liked, like, getting to see that their romance still exists when you're out of the, like, plucked out of the situation of, like, impending war and doom and all that tension and everything there. And I loved getting the different POVs and just seeing them have fun. There's a snowball fight in it, and they have winter solstice, and, you know, there's Christmas gifts, and you can see Nesta's, like, there's something going on with her. She's been broken, and I don't even understand. I want to know more. I wonder if one of the POVs will be Nesta. Oh, I never even thought of her. And just seeing, like, after A Court of Wings and Ruins, not everything is sunshines and daisies politically. These people still don't like each other. You know, Tamlin is still kind of SOL with after everything Feyre did to people's faith in him, and he's on the border with the human world and the fairy world. There's just so much that kind of gets mentioned in here, as well as dealing with the coping, that I really actually appreciated this book being in there. Then I very eagerly picked up Night's Shadow by Sebastian de Castell. This is the second book in the Greatcoats Quartet, I believe it is. Someone told me it might be expanding, but at this point it is 4 books, and I haven't read the 4th book, so I don't even know if that's humanly possible for it to be more. But second book in the series, and it picks up right where the first one left off, that they've saved their kind of heir princess who was hidden and lineage reveals happened, and our main character, I was going to say his name, Falcio. He gets angry when people call him Falcio, but the Dukes are still at war. There's a crazy lady trying to take over, and she's going through every means necessary, and there's people who have the best interest at heart for this girl who was believed to be the heir and then found out that she wasn't, but they are going about they're kind of working against each other, they have their own ideas of how that's going to happen. And there's so much that happens in this book. I mean, the book is 574 pages. So there's lots that happens, lots of fight scenes. One of his best friend too, Falcio, oh my god, I'm gonna get started. Falcio, and he's got, like, his whole, like, everything that he did in the first book has been turned into this song, and so people, and they actually do this a lot of times in history, which is why I loved this part of the book, that people would sing songs, because a lot of people weren't literate, especially the rural communities, that they weren't literate, but they'd be able to remember sing songs, so you could write your legend or a story in a book all you wanted, but if people couldn't read it, they couldn't read it. But if you made it in a song, people would remember the tune. It would carry much easily between literate and illiterate communities. So that is actually how they transferred a lot of, like, people have used it for spying, like, to transfer messages. They've also used it to influence people. Like, you can fake, you know, history and story and legend if you put it in a snazzy song and kind of convince people of things. Like, kings would do that for, like, to convince, like, their rural communities and all that kind of stuff. So French Revolution was a big thing there too, especially. But that's something that keeps getting brought up through here. And then Falcio's best friend is also, at the end of the first book, he becomes the Saint of Swords. And we find out that comes with a lot of extra things. And then there's all those other, like, secret societies. And he's trying to find the other Greatcoats and exactly where they were hidden. Because the king, before he died, gave them all kind of missions. And so a lot of them required those Greatcoats to infiltrate other parts of societies, other dukedoms, other, you know, soldier institutions, all this kind of stuff. So he keeps trying to find them. And he's also dealing with the poisoning that he got at the end of Traitor's Blade. So there's just so much going on. And even with that, like, it was just a lot of fun. And I like that Falcio's he doesn't really struggle with it. And I actually kind of appreciated this. It's talked about in Trader's Blade that his wife was murdered, but at the end of Trader's Blade he meets someone, and there's kind of like an instant connection, and I wasn't sure if they were going to come back, but she does come back, and she's got kind of her own baggage along with it. But he's able to like understand that he can love his past wife and also still move on and love this little girl, or I guess not little girl, she's like almost a teenager, and try and help her and do the best for her and keep her safe while also trying to keep his friend safe. And the fighting scenes are so much fun. I love all these characters. There's so much sassy dialogue, and there's a lot of traveling and adventuring, and I really, really like that, because there's like, even when that stuff, like the traveling just happens, sometimes it can be boring, but he tends to cram a lot of information in there, or kind of like conflicts or whatever, so it's not quite super boring. So, yeah, I really love this. I ended up giving it 5 out of 5 stars. I don't know how this series is not more popular. It's so, so good. There's lots of fighting, lots of action, lots of comedy, lots of dialogue, lots of characters, lots of OTPs, and yeah, I'm just really excited to get to the 3rd book, probably in July. And lastly, I read Karma and Grit book number 1, The Wing Snatcher, by Sarah Jean Horowitz. I kept calling it Horowitz. Her last name is Horowitz. There's no O between the R and the W. But this follows our main character, who is an orphan and is kind of unofficially adopted by this traveling magician, and he's been working with him for quite a long while, and unfortunately they've fallen on hard times. And then he runs into a fairy, and she is the fairy princess, and she ran away from her mom just to kind of go out and get about, and things happen. And all of a sudden they find out there's fairies missing. And then all of a sudden in Karma's world, Karma is the boy, Grit is the fairy, that in Karma's world there's someone who's essentially been taking them and is using them as an alternative form of energy, and things evolve from there. Now, I think I ended up giving this book like a 3 out of 5 stars. It definitely was influenced by my mood. I loved the characters. I loved the setting. I just kept getting bored and distracted and wandering mentally off from the plot. And I know I would like it if I was in another mood. So I am going to reread this one closer to when the sequel comes out. Or, yeah, I don't know. I'll reread it in the next, maybe year or so, and give it another go when I'm more in the mood for that. But I love, like, the little special trinkets, and the Karma and Grit are, like, just such adorable main characters. They're fighting, like, for their own societies, and they come together and see how they can work together. And they're so clearly, like, just good people, and they want to do everything that they possibly can for the better of everyone. And, Karma, full-on sacrifices himself a couple times for his kind of adopted dad. And it was just, like, the characters are so sweet and so likable. So I want to give this one another go, and hopefully I can bump it up from a 3 stars. So those are all of the books that I read this week. Let me know in the comment section down below if you've read any of these and what you thought of them, or what you read this week. I would love to know. Make sure to check the description box down below for links to the books' Goodreads pages, as well as links to all of my social media. If you follow me, I will follow you back.